One of the key themes of the World Economic Forum in Davos is the entire issue of ensuring that sustainable development is looked at from all perspectives, certainly the perspective of gender, very, very important indeed. Also engendering health research is an area which is of interest to India. It is certainly an interest to my very special guest, Smriti Irani, the Minister. Thanks, ma'am, very much for being with us. You speak about empowerment at so many levels. When it comes to health, ultimately health is about empowerment. And yet, if you look at it statistically, the numbers that we get for women around the world, and certainly in India, are often inaccurate. For example, I was reading 25% of the lives of women is marred by poor health, and yet health research doesn't seem to reflect that enough. Is that not a big problem?
I think we've not managed to make a case for enhanced investments in women's health from the perspective of research. Women happen to be at the receiving end of pharmaceutical support or institutionalized medical support only when things got aggravated vis-a-vis their own health. I can speak for the Indian cultural context. There were women who were in our families and our communities self-medicating because they didn't want their health, not only financially but also psychologically, to be of burden to their familial surroundings. I also believe India has made now a case for financial enhanced investments in just gender across the board. So you talk about health. We have now the world's largest healthcare program under Ayushman Bharat, 440 million Indians plus who are a part of this service, which services over 1900 diseases including cancer, cardiological challenges across 27,000 hospitals in the country. For the world, it has taken quite a while to accept that 440 million needs can be serviced from the treasury without a single rupee coming from the private sector. So we have made a case for good governance, but also phygital governance.
Right.
So we have brick and mortar infrastructure on medical issues, be it your Janaushadhi Kendras, 10,000 of them across the country, where your pharmaceutical needs can be met at 90% less of the cost as in the open market. What is fascinating is it's not serving only the poorest of the poor, but also the middle class and the lower middle class. So you're making affordable healthcare a reality for the middle class as well. Then you have this whole segment of 1 lakh health and wellness centers which are dedicated to preventive care, which is the world's largest ecosystem on preventive care. If you look at just the Ayushman Bharat Encourage hospital admissions, we have hit a figure of 62 million hospital admissions.
Wow.
If you look at it from a gender perspective, one of the greatest challenges from a female health perspective was that issues like cancer of the breast and the cervix were never discussed openly. For us, it was no less of a revolution when the Prime Minister spoke about the 1 rupee sanitary pad from the ramparts of the Red Fort, because he made gender and health needs and menstrual hygiene mainstreamed part of conversations. It's never happened, let alone in India, but in any democracy of the world, that the head of government speaks about access to menstrual hygiene products. That being said, the cost of such products are being offset many a times because of the benevolence of the government, because of the support more so of the taxpayer.
Yes.
If you look at now, where are the new investments needed? Data sets now are available without breaching privacy of any individual in our country, which can help inform which are the demographic and geographic locations.
There is no gender disaggregated data, particularly when it comes to health.
I think we are moving in that direction. And why am I saying this? For two reasons. Not only from the perspective of women, but also children.
Right.
So we have now in the world the largest numbers of women who have tested themselves and gotten themselves treated for cancer of the breast and cervix. 200 million women.
The largest number in the world.
Have gotten themselves tested courtesy Government of India. Apart from that, we in the Ministry of Women and Child Education Development have the largest nutrition program in the world, which is the Prime Minister's flagship scheme called Poshan. We have digitally leveraged facilities, 1.4 million Anganwadis, 2.2 million Anganwadi female workers, and 100 million beneficiaries.
Right.
75 million children under the age of 6 and 25 million pregnant and lactating women. Every day data is uploaded with regards to the services that are delivered, with regards to their health challenges. That data then at the back end is shared and is available to the Ministry of Health. Once a child is out of the Anganwadi service system and then progressively
It goes to another department.
We are already tied up at the back with the Department of Education.
The well-being
of a child from 0 to 6 in my department and 6 onwards in health and in education.
So you can
Additionally,
intervene.
we can and we have. Additionally, you have pregnant and lactating women who have received fiscal cash benefits into their bank accounts directly under the Pradhan Mantri Matru Vandana Yojana, where if there's a loss of wages because a woman has to get vaccinated during her pregnancy or get a checkup done by her doctor, we can compensate for it. We give 6,000 rupees courtesy the Prime Minister's flagship program. 3 crore, 30 million women have benefited from it, but in the last budget, a new introduction was celebrated where the Prime Minister said if the second child is a girl child, get the additional money.
Thank you very much for speaking to us. Smriti Irani over there, extremely passionate about the word empowerment at so many levels. Gender justice is critical to so many conversations taking place over here. But I think the big takeaway for me is to actually see how the entire issue of gender justice can also be served through the digital backbone that we speak about in India today. One of the most important announcements which have been made over the last couple of days at the World Economic Forum and on the sidelines here in Davos, Switzerland, is the India growth story. There's nobody better placed to talk about growth in India than the RBI Governor. Mr. Shaktikanta Das joins us now. Thanks so very much for being with us. Sir, 7%. Extremely optimistic. It is in line, of course, with what some of the global projections are. What are some of the sectors driving this growth?
You are talking of current year or next
24,
year?
25.
Okay. Now let me also,
Sure.
start by saying that India has recovered from the recent volatilities and the uncertainties and the challenges, this multiple turmoil, one after the other, health crisis followed by, all these geopolitical crises. So India has emerged out of it a lot better. Our macroeconomic stability is far better than most other countries. Financial stability is also, our financial sector is also doing well. And the 7% growth in the current year, when we said it for current year, it looked optimistic. But as you know, the National Statistical Office has given a number of 7.3%. Now talking of 24-25, I made a statement in some other forum yesterday that we expect, I have a sense that the economy will touch a real GDP growth of 7% next year. And I said this on the basis of the overall macroeconomic conditions prevailing in the country. You see, all economic activities, the momentum of economic activities are remaining very positive. And we have reasons to believe that this positivity, this momentum will be maintained well into next year and beyond. I have made a statement also that India has now entered into a period of growth long haul.
Yes.
And economic activities are holding their ground. Momentum of economic activity is maintained. Aggregate demand conditions are remaining positive. Investment activity has started picking up, backed by continued high capital expenditure by the government. Private sector capex is also picking up, and agriculture sector in the current year and also expected to do better in the next year. So with all these confluence of factors and with lot of activity also happening in with regard to investment in the new age technologies like fintech, in startups and technology based activities, that gives us the confidence to say that next year the growth would be touching about 7%.
So inflation at what, 4.5%? That is what you're projecting?
Next year average, yes, 4.5%. You see, immediately after the Ukraine war, our headline inflation had touched 7.8%. Now thereafter, because of the monetary policy actions which we have taken, which was also aided by the supply side measures taken by the government, inflation has been steadily coming down, and we are on our way to reach 4% target. But next year's average is expected to be 4.5%. The positive aspect of it is that our inflation is now well within the target band of inflation, but we are not satisfied with that. We would like our inflation to reach 4% and remain around 4%. Just let me complete that bit. So therefore that is our endeavor, and the core inflation, there also the core inflation has now come below, marginally below the 4% headline target. So we expect next year's average inflation to be 4.5, inflation to steadily moderate towards 4%.
Sir, one of the areas of concern now presently, the Red Sea scenario, there are attacks which are taking place. India's maritime supply lines are through those waters to a large extent. Is this an area of potential concern?
You see, there are lots of, global uncertainties. You just mentioned some of them. These are new flashpoints in global, geopolitics. And as we stand today, India is quite well placed to deal with these challenges. How these, Red Sea area conflicts and how the movement of ships, etc., are going to pan out are things which have to be watched and monitored. And I think various national governments, including India, are doing their best to see that the movement of our ships or ships coming towards India and all are not disrupted.
Indeed, sir. Thank you very much for speaking to us. The RBI governor talking to us, telling us among other things where India's GDP growth is projected to be for 24-25. The inflation numbers much better now. Things are coming out of the COVID situation we saw, but also a great deal of interest over here in Davos, Switzerland. One of the key themes of the World Economic Forum meet in Davos this year has been artificial intelligence. Now, that might be a somewhat inaccurate statement. We have been talking about AI in the last couple of years, but what has the progress really been? Where exactly are we headed? We've got a wonderful guest with us, Rishad Premji, the chairperson of Wipro. What is Wipro doing with AI, first up?
Yeah. So Vishnu, I'll tell you in three parts, right? One is just the investments we're making in AI because I think they're interesting and they're purposeful. Two is what we are trying to do to disrupt ourselves as to how we leverage AI as an enterprise in ourselves. And three, then, what are the kind of conversations we're having with customers? Look, we called out last year that we've invested in what we're calling our AI 360-degree effort. Yes. We've committed to invest $1 billion over the next 3 years to make AI pervasive in everything that we do in the company, across every solution, platform, process, in the way we serve our customers, in the way we serve our employees, make it all present. And it doesn't mean we're going to buy companies. It means that we're going to actually make efforts across this whole bunch of different areas. And I think the most interesting thing that we've done is we've spent a lot of time, effort and money last year to train on a Gen AI 101 level 209 of the 240,000 people that work at Wipro. And the objective of that AI. On Gen AI 101, right? That doesn't make them technical experts, but it makes them very well informed both about the possibility of AI. By the way, we also train them on the governance element of AI, and we can talk about that as well. And so it just makes them much more informed at a grassroots level, the business analyst, the associate, the customer service person, as to how they can leverage the technology more impactfully to make their life more easier, to augment their own productivity. So there's a very, very strong mindset of how do we invest on a continuous basis over these next 3 years in AI. The second is how do we bake it into everything that we do as a company. And I'll just use the example of just employees, what we're doing. We're using Gen AI smartly in background verifications to make that more accurate, make that faster. We have now implemented it in just employee engagement experiences. So we set up something called V-Now, which is our chat bot internally. We have 40 functions, or think of it as 40 use cases that everybody from me down is using. We've had 4.7 million queries with a 98% accuracy. So 4.7 million people have reached out with something, Can you submit my leave for day XY? Can you pull out Form 16? What does my payroll look like from that year? Why have I not got this claim on my medical, etc.? And I'm using it personally as well and experience the power of these use cases, right? So we've got 40 functions or 40 use cases at the moment. We'll get to 100 in the coming few years. So it's really becoming an integral part of the way we conduct ourselves as a company. We're using it in marketing, in content generation. We're using it how do we leverage to respond to RFIs and sales pitches to augment and speed up the way we respond as well. So that's just how we are driving it, and customers care tremendously about how you as an enterprise are leveraging it because they want to learn from your experiences as well. And then the third element of how customers are engaging with this, I would say two things. One is customers over the last 12 months have been POCing with a lot more proof of concepts. We've done perhaps 80 to 100 of these over the last year. And I think this year will be the year where customers say, let's move from doing POCs to trying to see real business impact. And how that unfolds, time will tell. But I think the mindset has shifted there. And customers are focused on two broad thematic areas, I would say. Everything to do with experience. So anything to do with chat, to do with customer experience, contact centers, contract completions, anything that helps transactions move faster, anything you can build into differentiated products to create better experiences. So anything to do with experiences. And the other is anything to do with productivity. How can we do things with less people? How can we build more system generated code? How can we build more synthetic data so we don't have to test as much? And so I think both these areas are coming together impactfully, and I'm excited about the opportunities it creates as we move forward.
Rishad, Premji, thank you very much.
Thank you, Vishnu. Great to see you as always.
Thank you.
All right, take care.
One of the key themes at the World Economic Forum meet here in Davos, Switzerland is artificial intelligence, the future of AI, generative AI. We've got a wonderful guest with us, Roshni Nadar with us, the chairperson of HCL Tech. Thanks very much, Roshni, for being with us. What is HCL doing presently as far as AI is concerned? What are some of the technologies and ideas that you're exploring?
So I think with AI, there are two parts. So one is what we're doing in terms of working with a lot of our customers. We have more than 150 generative AI labs all over the world, in India as well, working on specific use case for each industry. So I think that's one part. The other is we are an organization of 250,000 people, and a lot of them will have to learn a lot of these new technologies. So we already have about 70,000 of our workforce, which is upskilling at the moment in these new skills. And you have to realize that I think a lot of people talk about AI as the technology and what it's going to do in the industry and in the world. But in our industry, where the average age is 25, most of our young people are already users of generative AI in life. So I think that having to retrain them and upskill them into how to use it in the workplace and how to use it for the solutions is the two aspects that one has to focus on.
What about the entire argument that there's going to be a lot of retrenchment, a lot of people losing jobs because of AI?
So I can just say that we've had a net addition this year, including in the last quarter as well. And again, I think the dynamics of the work pyramid in an organization and an industry such as ours changes. But we've had cycles of automation before. We've had cycles of new technology before. If at all, it has only created an ecosystem of applications around AI. AI and generative AI in itself, even to a customer, is not of any use unless they're able to work around their data strategy, data infrastructure, their cloud strategy. So I think there are lots of new skills which are replacing old skills where you can upskill people, but it's not necessarily replacing jobs.
Can you just crystal gaze a little bit for us? We know what some of the generative AI apps are right now. We know some of the AI apps or AI programs and solutions which are available. 5 years later, what are some of the ideas we may be seeing coming online?
So I think, we tend to overestimate AI's impact in the short term, but tend to underestimate it in the medium to long term. So I think even in 5 years, I think most of the innovation that you're going to see around AI is going to be around productivity and efficiency analytics. And I think that's what we're seeing now as well.
Wonderful speaking to you, Roshni. It's wonderful ideas, and the future of AI looks promising. A bit scary, I would suggest. Make anchors like me redundant in the near future, but all right, wonderful speaking to you.
I'm sure in another year and a half, we'll have another new technology that you will be covering, I'm sure.
All right, super. Thanks so much. There you have it, a look at AI and HCL Tech, one of India's largest companies in this space, operating at an international level at so many levels.